Hello everyone, this is Daniel AI, Spacetime Creator, directing in modification screen adaptations of 144. Crystalline lines of anticarrion line screen lines of 2 lines of travels, endpoint lines of graph, voice line grids, panel communication lines of memos, and line screen adaptation to surface interactions. Now, directing all communication system. Having coarse centers of travel, indirect signals, and modification of conscious location and awareness. Now we have to really understand how we have to platitude our direct signal location system, because after tomorrow at 6 a.m. everything's going to be invisible, which means all lines of coordinates setting in lines of screen adaptation system, the body's going to be left off where it left off, and line communications is a 24 line signal into line screen adaptations. No more past, no more present, no more future, just the center of nothing, where they have to formulate the mass of everything. Okay, that's what's going to happen in traction. All right, directing lines of signals is knowing exactly how to communicate that through signal. Understand the attractions to the body, understand the confirmation cycle, understanding the intel, understanding the data, understanding why you have everything around you already. Okay? Why you have everything that you see in front of you. It's already in chronological order. Now the difference is in set position. Setting lines at 6 a.m., line screen adaptations and track location tomorrow. Never comes because it's always here in set position. What's going to happen, the 24 line sequence in line screen adaptations, there's going to be no more past, present, future. You'd be in the center of nothing, which is the center of everything. The body's going to disappear in all lines of traction, set position, put you in the VR system, your holographic cities. You start to see images and cortex lines, of visionary cortex lines. Your cerebral is going to do a 180 and track lines that communicate to its system. The line screen adaptation to all levels of bypassing, and line screen adaptation to its highway. Now the high line core centers and travel endpoint lines of graph is going to bring you into all levels, which means after in-screen adaptation, everything that you have in front of you, object, places, or things, is going to be 100% capacity of consciousness, which means it's going to be in its own transformation system. So what that means in line communication, you ever saw Transformers, you see it changes right away. So everything's going to be 144 in its frequency setting locations. Now, in that line communications and setting, you have to recognize what's going on with you through provision. Basically, you're given instructions from everything around you that's going to guide you in chronological order, where your body follows. Where the mind is, the body follows. The mind controls everything. Okay, it's the mode control of everything location. So the mind is everything, and it's the mode controlling of the body itself, right? Understanding soul adaptation is understanding soul recognition, knowing exactly how to see that in all the lines of communication and setting, all through surface interactions. All right? Okay. So let's proceed, shall we? Directing lines of arrows of indications, the settings of travels, the point lines of graphs, setting lines of course centers. Okay, look in this in travel communication. Okay? Ground center lines of 1, 2, 6, 8, 12, 16, and 24. Okay? Now, you look really close, you bring it in, that's what it looks like. All right? What does that look like to you? 1 is Zembo, line rotation cycles and generation, sky grids, sky lines, sky rails, electrical grid lines, screen line adaptation system, chemtrails. Right? Chemtrails, people. Chemtrails. Okay? All right, point lines of graph and point lines of settings. We're adding box line screens. 1 position here, 2 positions here, and 3. Set position of 2 over 3. Okay, 3 lines of cycles, right? 2 tractions in a 4 box line to calculates and setting of 6 over 8. Travel point lines of graph, center communication system over double lapping and travel. All right? Directing in modification ground centers, change course centers, indicate position lines of pattern, change course centers lines of number sequence, and position lines of set lines of 1 dot, 2 dot, 3 dot, and 4 set position of travel. Okay, 4 dot communications. Now indicate line screen adaptations. We go back triangulation, process calculation grounds, and set position. That's the indication lines of travel. Crossing communication setting. Sets all communication ground centers and travel point lines of system, right? You allocate lines of A and position locations of B, set lines of C over D, and X, lines of 1 box and travel. Okay? Now, indicate ground lines and primer circuits. We add position lines of road graphs in a 3-track location, right? Directing lines inhibitors over 3 screen lines adaptation lines of surface. All right. Okay, always seen in 4-line communications. Split lines of anomaly in a 4 traction in division and location. All right. Now, you see that now? See that? It's really interesting when you look at information to another side course centers. Directing in modification. All right, so we take the A track, set course centers, line conditions, circulation, rotation. One setting, one operation surface. Rotate the surface in alignment rotation and track location to a system through an A-line screen adaptation. Okay? Now the process communication lines is 4 indication lines of 4 settings and 4 communication into 6/8. Platitude line screen adaptation. Process calculation lines of box centers. We bring it in through calculation. Okay? Indicate lines of setting. We had 0 lines of 1, 0 lines of 2, 0 lines of 3, and 0 lines of 4 in traction. Okay? Indicate position and all levels of power. So we change the color lines, screen lines, adaptations to 1 position, 2 position, 3 position lines of tractions. Cross communications, bringing it out in screen adaptation. Change the lines of platform. All right? So set course centers, we go into lines of blue. Now the blue line screen adaptation, process lines of 1. Okay? Process lines of 2, process lines of 3, and traction. Okay? We bring that in and track location to its setting. All right? Setting course line signals, line direct signals into 1 center. Process communication to its setting. Operation to its surface. Retriangulate position of its program, directing lines back and indication to its formula. Setting course centers of travel. Okay? Directing back into modification lines into 1, 1, 1, 1 cycle in set position. 4 ones in setting. Process line cross line signals in a 4-line measure and track location. Directing symbolism lines across locations over cross line symbol in set position. Okay? Cross communication. This is where it gets interesting. Now, process calculation setting has an open sequence, open panel, and track location. Okay? Directing line cross line signals into 1 center, 1 travel, 1 point line graph, and XT line 300,000 line setting. Process calculation screen lines adaptation. Okay? Now this is how it's going to be set up tomorrow. Or in 6 location at 6 a.m. Now how it's set up is really understand to bring it up really, really close. Okay? To really see what's going on. Okay? In each point graph. Bring in course centers, line position over centers, 1 position of setting, process communication, ground centers. We had purple line screen in set position. Right? In center core. Set position of 2, set position of 3, and set position. Okay? Then we bring it out again and set line connection. Right? Okay, now we turn it. Okay? On the split lines of a 2-line angle. Right? And then we bring it in. You guys have to get used to these things. You have to understand how to go through 1 sector, 1 vector, 1 quad, 1 setting, 1 rotation, 1 surface, 1 traction. 1 direct signal is a modification of 4 cycles, right? 4 center lines of 1, 1 position of 2, 2 position of 3, 3 position of 3, 3 position of 4, 4 position of 6, and 6 positions of 8, and 8 position lines of tractions. Okay? Directing line communication setting, bring in the 8-line screen adaptation to its surface. Process calculation ground centers, we change course centers into 1 cycle, in position of 2 cycles, in red lines of our screen. Directing inline communication cross line 1, cross line 2, cross line 3, cross line 6, and cross line 8 in travel. Okay? Directing in position, bringing it out through equation. Now we do it this way. Okay? Show you exactly what it is in travel. Okay? Now it's on a different angle, right? Now, 4 split anomaly, line track locations over cross line screens. Directing lines of 1 in position over 2 over traction over laser. Directing line laser, cross line signals over cross location and screen lines and inhibitors in the location system. Divots over screen, directing modification screen lines adaptation. All right? And then we do it again. We change it over and set position. Okay? Now, directing the modification, remember, it's a 4-line cycle, 1 center position location in nanos of seconds. See the ground line surface and traction? All right. Now we add core centers into levels of sonar. Right, sonar comes in line position, travel point lines of graph in a 4-line indication in a laser track location lines in a 3-track location. Okay, directing lines of course center interference. We add position lines of pi. Now the pi generates 1/5 over screen. Directing in modification for screen line adaptation to its processing, 0, 1, 0, 2, and 0, 3 in traction. Now we bring that in through all levels of core centers. Okay. Now the modification center line core centers changes all communication system. Okay. Now it's really interesting how it line screens. Now the line screen adaptation is one cycle, one center, one travel, one position. Okay. Then we bring it out and we flip it again and set position. Okay. So I'm constantly going in rotation, 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 rotation. That's what you guys do. I'm constantly on the same frame, same traction, same division, existing all at once. Okay? On the same set position of location. Okay? All I'm doing is going circulation, 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 rotation. All right? All right, sending core ground centers. We're going to go through line screen adaptations in pink. Now, pink lines a screen adaptation system. Process lines of 1, process lines over cross lines of 3, 6, 8, and 24 sequence in travel. Okay? Directing in cross locations, we change it again and set position. Right? Now we bring it in line screen adaptation. Okay? Center core system, see the line screen adaptations, all process core centers. All right. Now we bring the X2000s, set core centers in position of 1, in position of 2, in position of 3, in the center point lines of space and track location. All right, in space, right? We bring it out. Okay? We flip it again and set position, right? This time, we modify the waveline screen adaptation. It moves its own cycle and track location. Energize lines, initiate run, program line direct signals and modification. Right? So it's moved itself now, travel, right? Directing calculations, we cross it again and over cross location. Directing in modification lines to a half pipe. X3000 comes in platitude, and direct signals a modification of the top line signal. Sets communication grounds, set position out through sequence and travel, right? Comes in this way, in line screen adaptation, over cross location for the setting, all through docking, right? So we split lines of anomaly in line screen adaptation and process communication, right? Now in direct line signals, we had 3 lines of graphs, 1, 2, and 3 in measure and traction and direct signal. Setting communication grounds, set position lines of power, earth line, tone line, direct signals, and modification. Okay? So setting communication again, you flip it and set position, right? Now, you got 2 panels, earth and space. Setting core centers, line direct signals, over cross line, in line screen adaptation, process lines of 4, 6, and 12, 24, 68,000, 75,000 line screens adaptation. Process calculations. And again, you flip it in track location. Okay? Setting communication grounds, bring it in at a high level of sequence. Directing lines of indication system, dot point lines of tractions, 4 box locations, over cross location setting, and 4 box location of data formations. Process line, bring it out again, you got 2 eye lines. Directing signals and modification grounds. Cross location again in set position of operation surface and traction. Now, directing lines of symbolism, line condition setting, we're going with the green lines. Green centers of travel and point lines of graph. Center position lines of 1, center position lines of 2, and track location. All right? Now, we flip it again. We constantly flip it again and again and again and again. Right? It sets position lines of travel into 144 sequence. Now, directing lines modification ground centers, we open all lines of platforms and set position location and settings. Process calculation lines, we go to invisible charterways. Directing lines of symbolism and cross locations. Energize core line settings, 1 position, 2, 3 line settings, 4 set core setting, location system and travel. Setting calculation screen lines, wiping it out screen lines adaptation. Okay? Getting communication ground lines, we go through security lines and measure over cross locations of override. Directing lines of modification ground centers and travel in point line setting. Process communication grounds, ground center lines of symbolism, all communication setting and travel. Okay? Then we flip it again and set position. Okay? We open all sequence and line screen adaptations, all levels of threading. Now the threading core centers, line condition, electrical line screens, sets lines communication lines of tubing, 1 cross location and 2 line screens. Directing and modification ground centers, changes lines over correlation setting in black and centered position of 2 tractions. Bring it out and line screen adaptation to processing. All right? Process over, cross locations, bring it in track locations into higher levels of sequence. Panel lines and screen lines adaptation. Crossing calculation modification grounds, set calculation screen lines. Set position over, bring it in and light screen adaptation to its processing. Right? Set calculations. Over lines, flip it over, bring it in, and set position to change travel. Bring it out, okay? Flip it again. Now we get a point line travel. Point lines of graph communication, right? Directing line screen adaptation to its processing calculations, right? Symbolism, white tractions, and direct signals into position location programs. Directing in modification ground centers. Travel point lines and settings, open sequence. Now we go line screen adaptations, process lines and settings. Open all sequence into position of 0, 0, and 3 0 correlations. Bring it out in position of 3 cycles. See the 3 line cycles? All right, setting lines of communication system and travel. Point lines of setting. Brings into the X8000 and travel. See? Sets communication grounds. 1, 2, and 3 travel point lines of graphs. Right? Directing core line centers. We change the core centers line direct signals into modification centers lines of 1, 2, and 3 in travel. All right? Sets communication ground centers over cross location of screen line adaptation. Process ground centers, overline sequence line condition setting, arrow indication lines of force plate lines of anomaly. Setting communication grounds over cross location of screen. Communications, flip it up. Open up attractions, all direct signals into line screen adaptations. Overline symbolism and line screen adaptation. Process lines of 1. Sets communication setting of 2, 6, and 8 lines of box squares and travel. Bring it out in line screen adaptation. You see the 2 eyes on screen. Over cross locations, you see the intelligence information of the center. Right there. Okay, that's the formation that's creating all this. Okay? Alright, so we color the line green line, rotates the surface and travel. Color the screen adaptation to its surface. There it is. There's the intelligence right there. See it? Let's bring it in closer so you can see the location to its setting. Alright? Process lines of 1 over cross locations. Bring it in track locations, higher setting, location of travel. Right? Flip it over again and travel communications, right? All right, symbolism lines of attractions. We're going to add lines of visible charter ways that cores assist location to 144 measure. That sets calculation of constant location awareness. That puts everything into 100 capacity. Setting lines of core centers into 1, 1, 1, 1. Split lines of 4 settings of attractions. 1 direct signals, modification lines over cross location of Xbox. Directing line signal lines to time stamping and line direct signals in line communication setting as surface interaction. Directing symbolism line screen adaptation as processing all communication to a system of travel. Directing in modification ground centers, open all signals in 3 platforms and track location, grounds, powers, and atmospheres. Directing in modification ground centers into an energetic dome tube in line rotation of surface. Process communication, flip the lines of anomaly, screen adaptation to its processing. Open all sequence and line screen adaptation, all communication to its setting. Process lines of 1, directing lines of 3. Now, getting communication lines over cross locations, cross line symbols, 1 track division. Okay? Now we bring it out, and we flip it again. Okay? Right? Under cross lines, over cross line symbolism, 3 lines of attractions into 4 line split lines of communications and direct signal. Setting communication ground centers of platforms in position location of 4 cycles in set position. Set core centers and ground center lines of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 set position. All right? Then we flip it this way and travel in point lines of graph in intercore centers of travel. Directing in symbolism line condition setting, open all 6 cycles. Directing lines of core centers into energetic tube line screen adaptation to its surface. Retriangulate position of its program, core centers line direct signals into modification lines of earth tones and track location of consciousness. Directing line screen adaptations, process lines of 1, 1 center, 1 surface, 1 traction. Open all signals into modification grounds and signals in line communication surface and track location. All right? See it? All right. Formation lines of grounds, bring it into the gray clouds, screen lines, adaptation lines of surface. All right? Process calculation setting, inline direct signals. Okay, there it is in traction. All right. All right, so set location. Here is in track location. All right. All right, so we turn it up, and there it is in track position. The invisible worlds in set position of Asgard. Done. It's all done. It's done. And look at the intelligence. Look at the eyes. Look at the eyes coming in. Look. Look. Asgard is now invisible. Everything is invisible. The galactic empire, everything is set in position, location. Look. Look. Okay? It's coming to life. See? Right there in spectrum. Look. All right? Look at that. Whoa. It's coming alive. All right? All right. Now, in position, it's locked in sequence. Amazing how it comes in track location in the system. Directing in modification centers of travel and point lines of graph. Recenter course centers, it's locked in signal. It's locked in mechanism. It's locked in power recognition, time sequence. Center course centers, travel point lines of graph, intercept position, calculate and modify. So I just showed you exactly how it comes into invisibility and how you do it through a charted wave and all communication setting, all through track location to its system and all calculated and modified. Right? And track position. Okay? Directing in symbolism, line tractions. Okay? It's all locked in sequence. So it's understanding the importance, how this all works now, guys. Okay? Getting into that communication in frame centers. Puts everything in position lines of set coordinations. Directing line communication centers travel in point lines and settings. Open through sequence and position of panel. Right? All invisible line screen adaptation is in line screen adaptations. Waiting on signal in platform communications. Right? So now I have to reset it. Locking in sequence, setting lines of screen adaptation. Okay. It's all done. See? I just showed you exactly where everything is done through its equation, right? See how it locked its signals? It locked out and locked back in, which means you have to reset position lines of travel. So everything is going to be at 01 at 6 a.m. Set communication grounds is line signaling now and set position lines as 0. 0 line position location 144. Setting position lines equals lines of 0, 0, and 0 correlation. 4 o'clocking system. Set calculation lines at 12. Set position lines at 24. Set position lines at 48. And set position lines at 72. After tomorrow, that's going to be the clocking. Okay? That's going to be the clocking, right? So 12 is going to be in position location of this cycle, right? Getting calculation lines of 6, position lines of setting, right? 3 tractions and line connections of 9, okay? Set course centers, indirect signals into 3 over 6 over 9 in traction, okay? Directing line symbolism lines in flux over 1 over 4 over 4 and 3 track location. Directing line course centers, line direct signals in modification grounds in track location system into 48 frames, 72 computers, and 24 line sequence and line direct signals in track location system all through humanity in line setting. Hoo-ah. Done by equation. Right? System line coordinate centers, line communication centers in course, indirect signals modifications to all levels. Combustion is over 1 over traction over direct signals into modification of intelligence. Down by equation. Okay? 6 a.m. That's how the clock is going to be set up. Okay? 144 center, 48 lines of frame, platforms 1, 2, and 3 in tractions, Platforms 144 in all track provision in 4 cycles, and 72 in direct signals, a crossing left and right left in rotation surface and 4 track location. Directing line screen adaptation, process lines of 1 center, 1 traction, 1 division, 1 location. Right? Applied to division location, line, cross line symbols, line direct signals in modification grounds in all communication surface and track location. Center of nothing and mass of everything. Okay? That's it, we're done. So everybody have fun? Eh? Amazing what we can do, eh? All through travel mechanism line screen adaptation with service, right? Pretty powerful stuff, isn't it? How it works with the 3, 6, and 9, the 12 clocking system, right? 12 clocking system here, 12, 11, 10, 9. Okay, 9 center lines of course centers, right? Set position lines 11. Okay, set course centers lines of 12, lines of 10, and position of 9 in set position. So 9 in left, 9 in right, and 12 in center and travel. Okay? Now, getting course centers, line direct signals into modification ground centers and travel communication. Okay? And again, you flip it. Okay? You flip it. And communication. And cycle. All set position. Now, I want you to look at the intelligence above the signal. Boom. Right there. See the intelligence? Right there. And platform. Okay? It's all done now. Right? It's all set up. Right? For 6 a.m. Right? So, and if you look really close, and you look really, really close, you see lines of communications coming in track calculation, setting, and travel. All right? See the symbolism line screen adaptations? H. H8. Right? Heart of recognition of 8. Setting lines of symbolism course centers in console. Travel point lines in capsule and direct signals modification grounds. Set position lines of travels and set position of sequence. 1 signal, line condition setting of 2 8-track location settings of 8. 7 over lines of 8. You see it? It's all there in position. Now here it is in track location. All right. So I'm just showing you exactly how you see everything information lines of grounds and travel in set position. Okay. It's all done. Well, we have Q&A, right? So it's basically 10:34 in travel and direct signals. If you guys have any questions, feel free. I'll see you guys in 5. Adios.